Okay, we're going to go ahead and call the May Board of Adjustment meeting to order. Go ahead and take the attendance if we could.
Wendell Miller.
I'm here.
I'm here. Justin's absent. Wayne Cummins.
Here.
And Josh Stroud.
Here.
All right. Okay, all right. You guys have had the minutes from last month's meeting. I'll entertain a motion to accept those.
Make a motion, we accept them.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the April meeting. All those in favor, acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. Okay. We have no old business. We got new business here, though, and we have I have a lens missing out of my glasses here. Okay, we have a variance for Article 4.1 to allow 6-foot fence in the front yard despite a 3.5-foot height limit submitted by William and Laura Wetzel. Ms. Victoria? Or no, you're not Victoria. Okay.
No, sir.
Mr. Lemley, you want to give us a report on that?
Yes, sir. All right, so this is a variance from the fence height requirement here at 9 Pleasant Hills. So the existing conditions are, it is located within the Marina Heights. This is a single-family home. It is an R1 single-family residential zoned property surrounded by other R1 zoned properties. Surrounding properties include other single-family homes and Lake Dardanelle. So the application is to allow the construction of a fence in the required front yard that is 6 feet tall, instead of the maximum allowed of 3.5 feet. This fence would replace an existing fence of the same height that was knocked down in a storm earlier this year. Staff has found that the applicant has demonstrated that special conditions exist, as this fence is replacing an existing fence that predates the current fence height requirement. The proposed use is in conformance with the table of permitted uses, and the granting of this variance is in harmony with the purpose and intent of the code. Staff's recommendation is that, or staff recommends approval of this application as a result of the findings below. The applicant has demonstrated that special conditions exist, and the applicant has met all of the other variance requirements. Do you have any questions?
All right. Gentlemen, what's your pleasure? Do you have any questions or?
I move we approve the variance.
Okay, we have a motion to approve this variance request. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve this variance request. All those in favor, acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. All right. Item number 2, we have a variance from Article 14 requesting a 5-foot variance from front yard setback requirement to allow 20-foot front yard setback submitted by Christopher John Palmer. Victoria, would you like to give us a staff report on that?
Yes. So as stated, this is a variance from the front yard setback requirement at 401 Mountain View Court. Existing conditions, this is located within the Marina Heights District. It is the proposed site of a new single-family home. The property is zoned R1 single-family residential, and it is surrounded by other R1 zoned properties. Surrounding properties include single-family homes, a cell tower, and fire station 2. In our review, the applicant is requesting a variance as stated to that front yard setback requirement due to the unique shape of their lot, as well as concerns of being able to fit their septic lines in. Staff has found that the applicant has demonstrated that special conditions exist due to the way, due to that unique lot layout that's shown above there. On your presentation. The proposed house location does meet the front yard setback requirement for the adjacent subdivision. That right-of-way line just kind of does a weird little angle there. So it would meet the setback requirements for the adjacent subdivision if that right-of-way line carried on directly from that subdivision. Additionally, the proposed house is 40 feet back from the other side of the front yard. So staff found those two special conditions did exist, and as a result, staff does recommend approval of this variance request with the following conditions: that the applicant shall submit for a property boundary verification and may have to complete an incidental subdivision if the property can't be confirmed through that property boundary verification. This is a result of the fact that the property is meets and bounds and not within a recorded subdivision currently. And this is based on the findings that the applicant has demonstrated that special conditions do exist and the applicant has met all other variance requirements. Are there any questions?
Okay, thank you. Gentlemen?
I don't have any questions. I'd move that we approve the variance.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve this variance request. All those in favor, acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. Okay. All right, item number 3, variance from Article 4.3, requesting relief from the privacy fence requirement submitted by HTW Architects, Engineers, and Planners on behalf of Marva Workshop. Victoria, you want to give us a staff report on that?
Yes, sir. So this, as stated, is a variance from the privacy fence requirement there at 1205, I'm so sorry, South Arkansas Avenue. The existing conditions, this is located in the South Arkansas Commercial Corridor. This site is the location of the existing Marva Workshop. It is a C2 zoned property surrounded by C2 and R2 zoned properties, including uses such as a church, retail stores, and residential properties. In our review, the applicant has received building permits for a 4,000 square foot building addition on their site. As a result, they have been required to come into compliance with the privacy fence requirement of Article 4.3. There is an existing chain link fence, however, it does not meet the requirements of Article 4.3, which does require for that privacy fence to separate between residential uses and commercial uses. These pictures up here are pictures of that existing chain link fence. So staff has not found that the applicant has demonstrated that special conditions exist, as the two reasons they cited for the variance request could not be considered. The first was financial strain in putting up that privacy fence, and staff cannot consider financial burden as a special condition. Additionally, the second reason that they cited were other commercial properties in this block or in this area that abut residential uses and zones and do not have privacy fences. Staff cannot consider other non-conforming uses in the area as grounds for granting another variance. And lastly, the applicant did cite that existing fence. The current fence is not compliant, and compliance with the fence requirements is being required due to the site work that's being done, and it is the intent of the code for compliance when additions are being made. So it is staff's recommendation that the Board of Adjustment deny this variance request based on the findings below. The applicant has not demonstrated that special conditions exist. The granting of this variance is not the minimum variance, allowing reasonable use of the land. The variance is not in line with the purpose and intent of the zoning code. Are there any questions?
We reached out to the adjacent landowners. Have we had any response from them saying they're?
So as a result of the new zoning code updates, they actually don't have to notify those landowners anymore for the variances. Those are more for our special use permits and stuff like that that go before the Planning Commission. So that's no longer a requirement. They did have a fence posted at their property, and we didn't hear anything. I do actually believe that this applicant, though, there was one applicant this month that did go ahead and send out those letters, and I believe it was Marva, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. So we did not hear anything, as far as I know. I'll check with my other staff, from adjacent property owners.
Okay.
It was published in the paper as well.
You know, I mean, a person called me, a friend of mine has property there, and he said he didn't have a problem with the way it was right now. It's been that way for a long time.
Yes, sir.
And how many linear feet are we talking, is it just between the, is it just between the housing and them, or is it the whole
Yeah,
outline of the property?
There's already a privacy fence there that's gonna be replaced.
It's
Well,
not
it's
a
not
privacy
privacy.
fence, it's a chain link fence currently that's there, yeah. Let me look and see if we can pull that linear footage
Okay.
for you really quick.
'Cause I was looking at on the information we were sent, and I really couldn't tell.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so it's not the entire portion. Let me see if I have a picture that kind of, so it's not the entire portion of their property, it's just what abuts the residential zoning or uses, which, I don't know if you can see my mouse if I move it, is kind of this portion, let's see, right here, I believe is the residential, kind of follows that line. Ooh. Yes.
So what your mouse just went through, that's where they're going to, so that's quite a bit of linear feet
Yes.
of fencing.
So just to clarify, they're wanting to replace a chain link with a chain link versus replacing the,
So they're not proposing to replace it at all. Part of the requirements of the addition that they're
Okay.
making to the property would be replacing the chain link with a privacy
and
fence
they
of
just
some
want to
sort.
take it all out?
And they just want to let it be as it is currently.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's why it's on the, it says on the drawing it was gonna be replaced, but they're saying they don't want to.
So my understanding is they said on the drawing that it was going to be replaced in order to get building permits. So we were able to move forward with those building permits. And then they came for the variance so that they could move forward on the building permits concurrently, so. And the applicant did want to speak on that. I'm so sorry, I forgot to give you your
All right. You want to go ahead and, if you'll step up to the mic and state your name for the record, please?
My name is Carissa O'Brien, and I'm the Executive Director at Marva. And just for clarification on the neighbors, we did notify all of our neighbors. I believe that all of the properties that, the residential properties that abut our property are rentals. So we reached out to the owners of those properties. We had one person who got in contact with us, spoke to our board president, and said that they had no problem with the current fence the way that it is. It's approximately 800 linear feet of fence that we would have to replace. The existing fence has been there for many, many years and has never been a problem. It's intact, it's in good shape. What I wanted to say is our mission is providing employment options for people with disabilities, as you probably know. All of our money as a nonprofit, we try to pour into our mission. We've received this grant that will help us with building a new building. We have an abundance of donations that are given for our thrift store, and we're just out of space to keep it safe, so we need this increased space. It will be kind of towards the front of our property. The residential is towards kind of the northwest and the west end of our property. This new building will be more towards the center and the east side of the property. Our current fence, although it doesn't meet these requirements, it did meet code requirements when it was built, when it was installed, and installing, we would have to take down a perfectly good fence and put up another fence. So the main thing, though, is safety for our clients. If we were to have a client who were to wander away, right now we have a good line of vision where we would be able to see on the other side of the fence, okay, she's on that street right there. If we had a privacy fence covering that much of our property, then it might take us, we would be at risk of it taking us longer to locate an individual who had wandered off. Just for the record, we have not had anybody wander off during my time there, but I have worked in the disabilities field for about 20 years and I've seen it happen. So we definitely want to make sure that we're able to keep our guys safe, and we just humbly request the approval of this variance.
Thank you. We commend you on what you're doing too. That's very admirable. I mean, it's great. Is anybody else, do we have anybody else signed up that wanted to speak on behalf of Mark? Okay. All right. Commissioners, do you have any questions? step up to the microphone and state your name for the record, please.
Ira Weimer, architect. Ira Weimer. I was just going to say, if you have any questions, technical type questions, I'm happy to help with anything.
Is there any questions?
I don't have any questions.
No,
All
we're
right,
good.
I apologize for being late. Thank you.
It's all right. It's all right.
I'll make a motion to approve the variance.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this variance request. All those in favor acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. Okay. All right. All right, we have a variance from Article 3.22.5 requesting relief from the commercial building design requirements submitted by Crafton and Toll on behalf of Quick Truck Wash. Victoria, you got a staff report on that?
Yes, sir. So this is a variance from the commercial building design standards at 43 Interstate Drive for Quick Truck Wash. Existing conditions, this is located in the East Main Commercial District. This site is the location of Quick Truck Wash. It is a C2 zoned property surrounded by other C2 highway commercial zoned properties, including such uses such as a truck repair business, a travel center, and offices. In our review, the applicant has applied for building permits for an addition for a touch-up area. This portion of the addition that faces Interstate Drive right-of-way is open, and therefore that portion is not required to meet commercial building design. It's kind of a carport type structure facing Interstate Drive. However, per the code, the forward 8 feet of any side perpendicular to the street shall meet commercial building design. So as a result of this, staff is requiring the applicant to meet commercial building design for the first 8 feet of the addition that runs perpendicular to Interstate Drive. Staff has not found that the applicant has demonstrated that special conditions exist, as the intent of the zoning code is for buildings to come into compliance as they redevelop. And they also cited that there were existing buildings surrounding them that did not meet commercial building design. And again, the existing nonconformance of other structures within the immediate area cannot be considered as grounds for granting another variance. So it is staff's recommendation that the Board of Adjustment deny this variance request based on the findings below. The applicant has not demonstrated that special conditions exist. The granting of this variance is not the minimum variance, allowing reasonable use of the land, and this variance is not in line with the purpose and intent of the zoning code. That is my staff report. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Greg, did you have anything you wanted to add to that? State your name for the record, if you would.
Thank you, Greg Long with Craft and Toll, representing the client. We give you some history on why we're coming with this variance request. The Quick Wash, truck wash there is located on Interstate Drive, as Victoria stated. It's an existing facility that washes trucks, obviously. What happens is, when trucks come through the bay, and they get very busy in the afternoons and evenings, a truck will get washed, and then that truck will pull out of the bay, and another truck is immediately into the bay behind him, and another truck's lined up behind him. Well, the driver may come out and say, hey, you missed a spot here. This fender's, whatever. Well, instead of making the driver mad and making him go all the way around and get back in line, they've been pulling the truck over just to the side and using a water hose just to touch up some area. Well, code enforcement saw what was happening and said, technically, that's still, you're washing a truck, so you've got to capture that wash water, even though it's very little. So the solution is to put in a trench drain like you would do inside the bay to catch that water. Well, the problem becomes then that trench drain cannot be open to the elements. So to cover that trench drain, we're proposing a canopy go over just that area. And it'll be an open canopy, with the exception of that south wall. We have a skirt wall coming down from the side of the building for a distance of about 10 feet, and it'll be about 7 feet off the ground. It's still open. But that skirt wall is just to keep the side falling rain from getting into that trench drain. And so I've got some photographs of what it will kind of be similar to if I can approach. And
So the end walls are going to have, like you said, just a skirt wall coming down from the roof down about 10 foot. So there's really no bottom area to put
right, it's very similar to this
facade in it.
adjacent business has a similar situation, which is, I understand the staff's recommendation that that's non-conforming, and I agree it's non-conforming. So we're doing basically the same thing. The only difference is our canopy's not that tall, so this is gonna come down a little bit further.
Right.
So, staff has recommended in our discussions that we use an alternate material. Well, one of the alternate materials is wood. So he could go out there and put some wood pickets up. But I'm speaking for my client, but now I'm gonna speak, because my building, my office is right across the street. I'd much rather see this than some wood pickets up there.
Right.
Or some plywood. He's only, most of the time when you have a building expansion, building on, it's a good thing. Business expanding, you need more space. He's just trying to do this to comply with code enforcement.
Right.
And so this is not adding any value to his business, so to speak. And so that's why we're requesting this variance.
All right. Commissioners, you have any questions for Greg? Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do you have anything you wanted to add to that, or?
Yeah, I'll just clarify, because Greg and I had a discussion on Friday, and there was kind of some miscommunication there too. We're just requesting for commercial building design on the portion of that skirting. We're not asking them to go all the way down. So I did just want to clarify that, because that was a little bit of a miscommunication we had, that he thought we were asking for a full wall to be built for that first 8 feet. We're just asking for the portion of that skirting to meet commercial building design, so.
What building could that, an option for that building, for that skirt wall?
Pardon?
What's another type of material that could be used other than metal siding?
There's a whole list. I can pull up our code quickly, listed in commercial building design as far as what materials are acceptable. Just off the head, I know there's like glass, brick, there's quite a few options there, and we discuss those with the
Okay.
applicant as well. So it's not just wood, there's a whole list of materials, but I think that was the one that they thought they might be going with if this variance was not approved.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You can come back up.
Yeah.
Another option is that if it was all left open, we wouldn't have to do anything.
Right.
And so that's an option, but we don't think that's the best option. But again, he's just doing this to get code enforcement off of his back. And so personally, I think the metal through there would look better than a combination of
Right.
something else. So.
Yes, it would. You want to make that official?
I'll make a motion to approve the variance.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the variance request. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, motion is second. All those in favor acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Is that, okay, if there's no other business for the Board of Adjustment, we are adjourned.